Hi, I'm Phil. Come and talk about something that's passionate to me, security. It should be passionate to you all as well, okay? It should be. A little bit about the company I work for. You can watch the video later on, a little bit about me. If you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, X, or whatever its name is this week. And I call this session Conundrums and Enigmas in Wi-Fi security because it sounded good, okay? So conundrum is an intricate and difficult problem. An enigma is something hard to understand or explain. And I'm quite impressed that we've seen talking about security twice today, because usually the last thing we do is we talk about security and we leave it all till the end. And we've had security mentioned twice today, which I thought was really cool. What are the biggest conundrums we have today? How do we stay safe in an ever-evolving world? How do we balance security with convenience? Because our users don't want to get signed out every 4 days or have to re-sign in or remember a password or have a complex password and so on. So it's a balancing act is what the real conundrum is, okay? And combining Wi-Fi and security is difficult, and that is therefore the enigma. How many people use WPA2 pre-shared key? Yep. How many people regret telling the security guy that they use WPA2 pre-shared key? Right, yeah, okay. Okay, how many people use WPA3? All right, that's cool. About 3 of you. And that's something, it's not in my script, it's something to talk about. We have WPA3 and no one's rushing to use it yet. And we probably should do, okay? There was more than 3 of you, I was being sarcastic. There was about maybe 10, 12 people out of 300. It's still not a very good number, okay? So security should be important to us. It really should be. And I got to speed up, I got to watch this clock. So my basic belief in security, the basic security premise, is we are not paranoid enough, okay? You shouldn't wait till your house catches fire before you install fire protection. And that's what I want to talk about today. I also want to mention that a longer password is better than a complex password. And that's very, very, very important. Also, convenience is a hacker's best friend, okay? Hackers don't break into you because you're lazy. They break into you because it's probably inconvenient to change the pre-shared key. Very inconvenient to change the pre-shared key. And you probably all should change the pre-shared key now if you're on camera and you raised your hand. If all those people who said they were using WPA2 pre-shared key, could you hold up your badges for me? Oh, right, yeah. So some terms that we use and get thrown around a lot in cybersecurity, a vulnerability is a weakness or a flaw or an error. A threat is a potential use of a vulnerability. The attacker or the threat agent is the bad guy. That's the person who's trying to break in and steal stuff, okay? An exploit is an attacker using a threat, exploiting a vulnerability. Risk is the likelihood of success compared to damage caused and the potential for loss, and loss is how much it costs us. And something very important, a little analogy I like to tell people is I live in the US. You can tell by my accent that I'm not from here. I'm from California, dude. Right, yeah. We don't protect against earthquakes in Florida because we don't have earthquakes in Florida. We don't protect against hurricanes in California because we don't have hurricanes in California. But we do have earthquakes in California and we do have hurricanes in Florida. Does everybody understand? So it's very important we take into account the risk of something happening. Unfortunately, some companies today have an attitude of how much would it cost us if this data is stolen? And that value is a lot lower than how much it costs to protect from the problem. And companies are making decisions today that, we'll pay the fine or we'll pay out the insurance rather than protect against something. But we had an attack in the US a couple of years back. Target got attacked. And my daughters didn't lose any money at all in the attack. But they had to change all their credit cards, right? Because the credit cards are compromised, they had to change them. As a result of that, they were mad and they didn't shop at Target for 6 months. We didn't lose any money, but they just got mad. Now, actually, knowing my daughters, Target lost a lot of revenue from that. But how much revenue do you think that Target lost because of the data breach? And how much do you think in hindsight, they would have liked to have paid to stop that breach. Okay. I am now an expert in British security, thanks to Google. So I know who these people are. This is very important. These are the top threats. And I'm going to talk about the main threats with regards to wireless in a little while. But I wanted to mention to you other threats that we have as well. Malware, denial of service attacks, okay? Nation-state actors. You might hear the term shadow IT when you hear cybersecurity. And this is Bob in accounts who's sick and tired that he can't get the printer to work. So he goes down the local, I can't think of any names of you guys. That'll do, yeah. And buy a little AP or a router, wireless router, and install it in the accounts department, plug the printer into it, and now, of course, he's got great printing. But he's probably plugged that into the company network as well, okay? So as an attacker, if I put my hacker hood on, I want to look for things like that, rogue or shadow IT devices. Also, one of the biggest threats we have is out-of-date software and firmware. Of all those people who have a WPA2 password, when's the last time you updated your firmware? Was it more than 6 months ago? You're learning. No one's putting their hands up anymore. Right, smart class, yeah. Other things we need to pay attention to. Okay, I just thought I'd put them up there to talk about them. Little cyber duck in the corner, look, breaking in with the Python script. I thought that was quite cool. Recent attacks that we've had, literally the entire country. Britain stopped yesterday. Do you know that Greggs couldn't process money yesterday? Literally the country stopped for like 1 hour yesterday morning. I went down to get my sandwich from Greggs. They go, we can't process credit cards. It also happened, I believe, to Tesco, Sainsbury over the weekend and things. Somebody's doing something. I don't think they found out who it is yet. There was February the 24th, your crime unit took down ransomware, Lockbit. Anybody suffered ransomware or knows anybody who suffered ransomware? It's a huge problem, okay? Basically, it's like, we've got your data. If you want it back, pay us money. You can now go online and buy, this is not a joke, ransomware as a service. It's for real, okay? On the dark web and things, you can actually hire people to do a ransomware attack for you. Obviously, if the good guys catch them, they tend to go to prison for quite a while, but this is not something that's unique. And you also have nation states that want to break in and attack you today. So what do they want? Why are they attacking you? Okay, they want your technology, they want your money, they want your data, your customers, or your Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin at the moment is on a bit of a rush again, which is good. Okay, I always seem to sell it when it's high and buy it when, no, wrong way around. Yeah, wrong way around, yeah. So we need security. We need to test our security. If you have security, test it. Hire a pen tester to come and test your security. Let me come and test it for you, and I'll give you a nice report at the end and give you an invoice. Or you could leave a hacker test it for you and steal all your data and sell it on the dark web. Okay, so hire pen testers. Encourage your users to use VPNs. I want to mention open roaming here. It's something Cisco started a while back. They've now handed over to the Wireless Broadband Alliance. Open roaming is a great guest network that you can onboard your company with. If you land in Paris Airport, I'm onboarded to open roaming. I land in Paris Airport, I'm on the network with certificates, highly secure. Okay? So there are systems coming now where we have guest networks that are secure. And that's one of the biggest problems is guest networks, of course. Anybody heard of these? That device to the left is an actual Ethernet adapter that will install malware on your computer for you. Phil, can I borrow your charging cable? Sure. The OMG, the top right. You plug that into your Apple Mac, and 5 minutes later, I have full control of your Apple Mac. $100 you could buy that for. Okay? So I tend to be a little bit paranoid. Don't go plug in your other people's USB devices in your computer. I carry a little protector or I have a battery pack. So if I'm at the airport, not even the airport, not the hotel, not the airport, I plug the battery into the USB, then I charge from the USB. See, if you said, Phil, you're a little paranoid, my response would be, thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. One of the biggest threats, if not the number one threat today, is uninformed users. So train them, right? Don't leave passwords around the office. How many of you have worked in a hospital or a school where the password is maybe under the keyboard on a yellow sticky, or on a yellow sticky pasted on the screen in front of you all the time? Have a security policy. Have one. Then enforce it. Then review it and keep it up to date. Top tips. Now this is awesome, okay? I don't know if you know, okay, but I can guess every single passphrase of every person in this room easily. But Phil, you're not anywhere near my network. You have something called a preferred network list on all your devices. Your preferred network list is trying to help you and make your life easy and is probing for your home network, okay? If I say, yeah, I'm here, Dave's home network, your client will connect to me. And what it will do, from what we learned this morning in the four-way handshake, I will send a made-up, wrong part of the four-way handshake, but it will reply back to me with the correct part of the four-way handshake. You get it? Once I've got that, it's just a matter of time before I calculate what your password is. But Phil, it's not that easy, surely. Well, we'll see. Do you know who knows your home Wi-Fi password? All your friends' kids do, right? Think about that, okay? What security do you have at home? Me, I have WPA3. I have a firewall. I have my network, and I have the family network. Okay, so I'm separated by a firewall, because I'm paranoid, remember? Everybody in this room needs to go to this website, create a free account, and look at your house on like Google Maps. And it will show you the networks in your vicinity. And I'd be very surprised if your network isn't showing up near your house. So people just drive around, loading up to wiggle.net networks that they see. I don't know if you know this, but this is how Google works, right? If you turn off Wi-Fi on your phone and then turn on Google Maps, and Google Maps says, hey, would you mind turning your Wi-Fi back on? Okay. All right, so Wi-Fi, is it secure? Yes, when configured correctly. And that's very, very important, when configured correctly. I had to mention this. This is very important. This is a famous cartoon. Anybody seen this cartoon? Yeah? From the XKCD guys. Basically, what they're saying is, don't use complex passwords. Use longer passwords. Now, a group of security experts came out and said, well, this is wrong. Then another group of security experts came out and said that that group of security experts were wrong because they didn't understand the concept of entropy. And this is actually correct, okay? So I thought I'd better check on this. Who else thinks it's correct? NIST, SANS, a couple of articles, the FBI. I literally Googled in preparation for this, is a longer password better than a complex one? And the government of Singapore said yes, the FBI said yes, NIST said yes, gov.uk said NIST. Look at this. The Daily Mail said yes, and the Guardian said yes. When have they ever agreed on anything, right? The GCHQ folks actually wrote an article that's a very good read. Now, you have to be careful to understand the complexity. It has to be 3 random passwords, right? It can't be your wife's name, your dog's name, and your mother's maiden name. It has to be 3 random passwords. All right, let's talk a quick talk about the history of Wi-Fi. So the problem we have with Wi-Fi is it's a broadcast medium, which means it's broadcast out, and anybody who has an antenna can receive it. You're not supposed to, but you can, okay? One of the biggest misconceptions in Wi-Fi is, it's okay, Phil, I've walked around the perimeter of my building, and I cannot see that pre-shared key or that open network in the middle of my building using my iPhone. But because you can't see it with your device, doesn't mean I can't see it with my device. So one of the most important lessons you have to learn is antennas are bidirectional. So if I get a bigger antenna, I can hear you better, okay? So I can sit in the local Tesco car park opposite your building, and I can see all the traffic that you are sending and receiving from my client, even though you can't necessarily see it from the iPhone in the same location. So all a hacker's got to do is buy a bigger antenna, directional antenna, and they can easily hack you from a long way away. So there are monsters in the world we must protect people from. I love this quote, dance like nobody's watching, but encrypt like everybody is. So basics, we have some beacons, we have some probes, we have some extra fancy stuff, K and V, that help the clients find the access points. The client will then authenticate, which is a total misnomer. It's got nothing to do with security. It's knock, 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 can I come in? Yes, that's all authentication is. Then you associate, okay? Then you do security, okay? Security used to be WEP in the early days. I don't let people be mean on WEP. It was fine 24 years ago. It's not fine today, right? Anybody still using WEP? Don't put your hand up. Don't put your hand up. Everybody else will boo you, okay? WPA was a short-term fix to WEP. And there's nothing technically wrong with WPA. It's just that WPA2 was better. I don't think anybody broke WPA because nobody cared because WPA2 came out. WPA2 came out, so people stopped bothering with it. But it did take up until 2014 for the Wi-Fi Alliance to say you're not allowed to use WPA. So you shouldn't be using WPA today. I'm going to be mean now, and sorry. Phil, we still have devices in our company that only use WPA. Buy some new devices, please. Really? You're going to have this problem for a while now with WPA2, but you shouldn't be using WPA today. The solution to all this with WPA2, this came out in 2004, but it took a while for it to get embedded, and now WPA2 is the de facto standard. And of course, WPA3 is here now, and we love that, and that's awesome. How do you know what's running in your network? Well, start up Ekahau. Ekahau Analyzer will show you what's security. Can my little magic device work? Yay. What security are we using? Okay, 802.1x up there, look. Do we have MFP? MFP is required. So that's the end of the session. Everybody go home. Now, you're not going to do this, right? Because you're obviously smart people. If you were the client connected to an access point, what I just did is I just de-authenticated the entire room. Hi, my name's Matt. Session's over. Off you go. And you'd all get up and leave because you don't know that I'm not Matt. Now, you know I'm not Matt. Clients don't. So MFP is an arrangement, a security arrangement between the client and the AP. When I say, hey, everybody, that's it for the day, you're like, well, who are you then? I don't know you. I don't recognize you. Okay? So MFP is just awesome. It kills most of the WPA2 attacks dead just turning on, some of the WPA2 attacks. It kills them dead because I can't de-authenticate you. Okay? Are we running K? Are we running V? Anybody old enough to remember the golden shot? Am I showing my age now? Left a bit, right a bit, yeah? Yeah, I am showing my age now. So there are two ways to do Wi-Fi, without security and with security. Nice and simple, right? Without security isn't a bad thing. It's what you have in the coffee shop. It's what you have at the airport. It's what you have maybe on the guest network. But always do something with it. Don't just leave it wide open, properly segregate it with VLANs and firewalls. Maybe use a captive portal, because we like them, don't we? We love captive portals. Yeah. If you do use security, there are two options, personal and enterprise. There's also a conversation going on about should it be called personal, but that's what it's built for. How many of you use personal again? It's okay, you can wave. The reality is you shouldn't, right? The reality is, Phil, I have to. Literally, I work in a hospital. We have devices that need to use, IoT devices that need to use pre-shared keys. The end, you shouldn't use personal, but you do. Why shouldn't you use personal, Phil? Is a very good question. Okay? So personal, also known as pre-shared key, the wireless infrastructure and the clients share a common password that you put in, or you enter the password, or you type in a passphrase, may the force be with you or something. This is perfectly safe. Pause for dramatic effect. As long as you change the password every so often. You don't, do you? Be honest with me, you don't. You change the password when someone leaves the company. You don't, no. Why? Because it's inconvenient, right? Use a serious length or complexity. So, bless you. You shouldn't, if someone leaves your company and they know the pre-shared key, they can sit outside your company and they can capture all your traffic and decrypt it. Now, hopefully, you're smart people and you're using like HTTPS and you're not using Telnet, you're using SSH. I wrote a blog entry a while back on only with an S. You only ever use protocols with an S. And SSH has got two S's, so double secure, right? So use SSH, HTTPS, SFTP, and so on and so forth, okay? Enterprise is the ultimate, but it's very inconvenient. It can be costly, and it can be difficult to set up and manage, okay? But that shouldn't be the reason that you don't do it. The big problem, and I cracked, we did this at WLPC, we cracked WPA2 Enterprise. Well, we kind of didn't really, right? We set up a honeypot and then jammed the original AP, and then users connected to the honeypot, and when it tried to connect, it said, oh, the certificate has changed, okay? And I told the users, never, ever, ever accept the certificate has changed. But to onboard them, I told them to accept the certificate the first time they did it. Does anybody see the flaw? Right? And so half the class just went, yeah, hey, Phil, why the certificate changed? The certificate didn't change, guys. They went, oh, it's that easy. So technically, I didn't break WPA2 Enterprise, but it was quite fun when they saw their username and password. And shout out here, Google Pixel. Google Pixel was, I'm not letting you install this new certificate. No, we're not letting you do it. My Samsung S23 did. I've upgraded to Samsung S24, it didn't. My iPhone was happy. I don't know if you know much about this, but I didn't even have to do any fancy stuff on it. It just popped up the username and password on the screen because it said, let's downgrade to PAP within the tunnel. And the iPhone said, okay. And it popped up the username and the password they were using. It's that simple, right? So the fact that a user can say, I want to use this new invalid certificate is probably one of the dumbest things ever. I need to speed up a lot. So if configured correctly, WPA2 Enterprise is very, very safe. And honestly, WPA3 Enterprise is the same as WPA2 Enterprise, but a bit more. Cannot do anything more without explaining the four-way handshake that I don't have to do because you've already seen it once, okay? 10,000-foot view, it's a way that the client and the AP can always get a unique encryption key. Because the PMK, the main key, this guy here, if you get it from WPA2 personal, comes directly from the pre-shed key, which comes directly from the passphrase, mixed with your SSID. So everyone, every time they connect, has the same PSK, therefore they have the same PMK, right? So the four-way handshake gives them a unique temporal key down here. So everyone gets a unique key every time they connect. But the problem is, if I break your PMK and I capture your four-way handshake, I can calculate your temporal key. So WPA2 personal is really not very secure at all. WPA2 Enterprise, I think Hafida showed us earlier this morning, comes from the 802.1x session. So everyone, every time they connect, gets a unique master session key, which means they get a unique PMK, which is much more difficult to break. So it's just not worth trying to break the 802.1x WPA2 Enterprise. Surely it's not that easy to break. So I used to do some crypto mining. This machine currently makes me negative 47p a day. It costs more to run the electricity than it does to make Bitcoin. But you know what it's very, very good at? It's very good at doing math. Now, all the English majors in the room went, oh, he said math, not maths. That's a bonus point. It's an English major joke. There's a little calculation, you can do a little spreadsheet you can download off the internet that tells you how long it'll take to break it. So 8-character, Candy 123, capital C, lowercase ANDY, 123. It was not a dictionary attack, which means I have the words in the dictionary. It was a brute force attack to break Candy 123 as a WPA2 personal password. How long do you reckon? 26 seconds. Okay? Now, 9 characters, 10 characters, 11 characters are more complex. But that broke, an 8-character brute force broke in 25 seconds. Well, it's basically 8 graphics cards plugged into a very low-powered CPU and a motherboard. And it just simply uploads this to the space, the different options, and starts looking at all possible combination options. Now, I also have a 3090 graphics card that's the same power as this. And the 1490 Ti, I believe, is 8 times the power of a 1390. It is not beyond the realms of possibility that whoever the bad guys are this week could build this and attack all your pre-shared keys passwords, right? Okay. So I believe NIST, the American Security Agency, for want of a word, NIST recommended you have 18 to 20 character passwords today. But what's going to happen if you have 18 to 20 character passwords? What the user's going to do? They're going to stick them on a yellow sticky and stick them onto the keyboard. Right? Okay. I'm going to speed up. You can get all this stuff which is very easy to attack. Okay? It comes with Linux, you can install it. So attacking is not that hard. Anybody know what this is? Tamagotchi? Or what this is? What these guys do is they can collect four-way handshakes for you and give them to you so you can attack them. I need to speed up a lot, sorry. Yay, Canada, right? Okay, so what's the problem with WPA2? Nearly 20 years old. It's deauthentication. Spoofing is a big deal. You can do four-way capture attacks, and it's easy to attack. WPA2 personal. If you use WPA2 enterprise, well done. It's not easy to attack. Is there hope? Okay? We may be sending people to Mars, and there is no hope. Okay? Use longer, stronger passwords. The end. And then comes WPA3, unicorn, magical unicorns and rainbows and all sorts of wonderful things. I'm going to zip through these because I really am short of time. WPA3 is awesome. That's it. WPA3 fixes all the problems. Okay? Sure, it brings up new ones, but it fixes all the other ones. Even if users are using easy-to-guess passwords, WPA3 will protect them. It kills dictionary attacks dead. Okay? It's mandated now in Wi-Fi 6. It's mandated in 6 gigahertz. Okay? So we're starting to get good. Just briefly, remember our friend, the four-way handshake? The four-way handshake is based on the pairwise master key, which is based on the pre-shared key. While in WPA3, you have a four-way exchange. I don't want to use the word handshake. A four-way exchange that creates a unique PMK using something called elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman. And if you want to impress people at parties, you can say what it is. But elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman is really, really cool, good, safe Diffie-Hellman, which means two stations can exchange data and create a shared password. Elliptic curve means it's good, fast, and means IoT devices can use it. Okay? So a special four-way exchange for the authentication, and you get a PMK. So a lot of the WPA2 attacks are dead now. Okay? WPA2 Enterprise is invisible to users. It does need client support. WPA3 and Personal and Enterprise mandates protected management frames, which is just wonderful. Right? You've also got OWE, I'll quickly mention, which means you now have security if you have an open network. You have an open network at the coffee shop, you now have encryption and security turned on. This is done by a special exchange within the association. Again, elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman exchange that gives you a PMK even though you haven't got any passwords or any security at all. This isn't actually the end, so please bear with me. This should be the end, right? WPA3, use it. But this isn't the end, is it? Because you need clients to support it, okay? I turned WPA3 on at home. My kids said that iPads don't work. I turned WPA3 off. They did a software, they connected, they did a software upgrade. It turns out they hadn't upgraded their iPads for about a year and a half. As soon as they did an upgrade, software upgrade, WPA3 started working on their iPads. So most devices today are software upgradable, okay? 6 gigahertz mandates it, but the new problem we've got now that we've upgraded WPA3 is roaming. Okay. WPA3 Enterprise is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty awesome. It works. Okay. Again, it's vendor specific. WPA3 Personal, you may utter a few swear words when I get this to work. It's vendor dependent. Anybody had problems with this? Yeah. See the hands going up. Vendor dependent, client dependent. It depends on which way you are going. Okay. You will get stressed. You will spend hours troubleshooting. We've spent years teaching people how to design Wi-Fi networks, okay? Would you all agree with me? In 2.4 gigahertz, use only channels 1, 6, 11. Don't do channel bonding in 2.4 gigahertz. Use 20, 40, not 80 bonding in 5 gigahertz. Don't have the same SSID available in 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. reduce your number of SSIDs. Standard rules, everybody good? Yep. Well, we're breaking all these rules now, right? Because in 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz, we are still trying to work out what's happening with 5 and 6 gigahertz. We aren't there yet. We haven't got to the end yet. So typically what we tend to do is we tend to use the same SSID on 5 and 6 gigahertz. Well, that's lovely until someone says, well, what about all those old devices that we haven't upgraded yet? Well, we can turn on transition mode. And I need to state this now, transition mode is the devil. Okay? It's lovely until it's not. Okay? And the problem is, if you have transition mode on WPA2 and WPA3 on 5 gigahertz, that's not a problem. But it's transition mode on WPA3 on 5 and 6 gigahertz that's a problem. Because it's allowed on 5 gigahertz and it's not allowed on 6 gigahertz. And what will happen is you'll try and roam it. You'll have loads of calls coming in saying, hey, my call dropped as I was walking around the building, as I was walking around the hospital, as I was walking through the warehouse. And it's because of this. Okay? So a possible solution you can consider, use 2 SSIDs. Use one SSID for 5 and 6 gigahertz, that's WPA3 only, and use another SSID on 5 gigahertz, that's WPA3 transition maybe, or WPA2 only. And you don't even need to be transition, because if it's 3, it'll work on the other one. But that means you can have an extra SSID now, right? That's cool, that works. Things that don't work, by the way, MAC address filtering, SSID hiding, you really shouldn't be running WEP or WPA, the original, today. Ekahau. Ekahau comes in really useful here. Ekahau can show you old, outdated security that you're using. Just walk around with the Ekahau sidekick, and you see, oh, look, so we found web. I can do a security audit on my customers with Ekahau, just by showing them this information. Very, very easy to do. Typical rules, some top tips, user whips. Use DNS filtering. When you get malware on your computer, the first thing it usually does is goes to nastynetwork.ru or something. It usually is something like that. And it downloads stuff. Well, the DNS filter says, you know what, I'm not going to let you go there. And that's the end of the attack. Right? Cisco Umbrella is the one that I use, and I know it's quite famous. There are others available. Highly recommend that. Turn on PMF and MFP. The same rules I've said for transition mode should apply here as well. The problem with transition mode, it means only do it if you want to. Right? So if I want to attack your network, I'm going to come in and say, oh, I can't do transition mode. Can we do WPA2 instead? And you're like, sure. And now I've attacked your network. Ekahau can be a great security tool. It can audit, view, and review your networks. It can show you if you're using WPA2, WPA3. When I do an audit or a pen test on a customer, the first thing I do is I load up Ekahau, do a report, and say, look, you're using WEP over here. And sometimes the executives of the company don't know that someone's using WEP. Okay? You can search for rogues, search for interferers. Let's have some pictures on this. Where are we? So you can use Ekahau to visualize rogues. You can use Ekahau to a quick snapshot of your security overview. So not only can we use Ekahau to see what's being used, we can use it to troubleshoot and identify security problems as well. And this is just included. This is not something extra, it's just something you get with Ekahau that you can use for your customers. I am speeding up a lot. RF interferers, you need to stop them and get them, again with Ekahau. I'll just summarize through this quickly. Use WPA3, be wary of transition mode. This is one of my favorite tips that people just don't understand. When you configure your 2 SSIDs with WPA2 and WPA3, please don't use the same password on the WPA3 network that you use on the WPA2 network. Right? Okay. But Phil, these are so inconvenient. If you really want security, use the ones with TLS, WPA2, WPA3 Enterprise with TLS. And I think, these are inconvenient, Ekahau can make your job easier. And I think that's me done. If you want to take a snapshot of that, and that's me done. Thank you very much.